Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. This is Something Saturday where we just talk about things we didn't get to talk about the rest of the week. And today we have to talk about Blue Beetle. So this is our Blue Beetle non-spoiler review. Let's jump right into it. Alright everybody, so I saw the Blue Beetle and I actually rather liked it. Now I told you I was kind of looking forward to this movie. I was thinking that this would be one of those movies that does end up kind of being cool, and it didn't disappoint. Now, the main thing about this movie that you have to realize is that the Blue Beetle has been said by James Gunn to be the very first part of the new DCU, even though the DCU movies actually start to kick off with Superman Legacy. Now, that's a bit jarring because if the Blue Beetle is going to be the first part of the new DCU, how come his movie isn't the kickoff? Well, it's very simple. Right now, his movie is taking place in a different dimension. However, watch this movie and you'll kind of understand where it could be going, because James Gunn made a promise that these movies were going to start over but still maintain some of the stars, and we are seeing this happen as we have been told that the Blue Beetle will appear in the new DCU. So with that being said, this movie is kind of a throwback to the old superhero movies of the 80s and 90s. It's sort of a feel-good movie with some nice family elements in it, but it does have some humor that might go over the younger children's heads. So it's kind of in that same vein as some of the 80s and 90s movies where you can enjoy it as an adult, but when you were a kid, you really enjoyed it as well. The comedy in it works, at least most of the time. There are a few jokes I will say don't land very well at all times, but for the most part, this was a fairly solid superhero movie. Now, I have heard some people complaining about it, saying the special effects were not up to par. Well, I actually disagree. I thought the special effects made the weapons that he was using and the technology that he was using look rather okay. Keep in mind when you're watching this movie that this is supposed to still sort of seem like it's based in a bit of reality. This is sort of a weapon and armor that they have created, and it's got to look like it fits in reality. But when he learns how to use this armor, it sort of has to be a little bit more CGI. They couldn't really make that work in a whole reality-based way. So you do have to acknowledge that you are still watching a comic book movie. And people who want this gritty realism where everything seems like it really could happen, and any sort of CGI special effect that doesn't cater to the ultra violence of whatever you think is the real world, you're not really going to get much out of this movie. This movie is a throwback to the 80s and 90s, like I said, in every way. Now, the movie starts off with him getting back from college, and he meets up with his family, and he finds out his family's been going through some hard times. Everything starts to change from there, and I won't give you any spoilers from there, just that he gets this armor, this alien technology. It starts to take over. He soon finds out what he's capable of, and the second he finds out what he's capable of, he also finds out that there are people after it. And once he finds this out, we meet our enemy of the movie, which is kind of an enemy that's worthy of the Blue Beetle. It's an enemy that kind of has the same technology as him, so you do get a lot of CGI special effects that really rock and make the movie enjoyable. Because that's what a movie does. A movie is supposed to be enjoyable to you as the audience. You're supposed to come out of it feeling good, feeling like you wasted a few hours. You're not always supposed to come out of the movie feeling as though you have seen The Godfather or some epic. Sometimes the feel-good movie is all you need. And it does have an end credit scene that is very worth watching. So, as a mid-credit scene and end credit scene, the mid-credit scene is a bit more worth watching. The end credit scene is kind of just a silly little thing that they did, but I'm not going to give you any spoilers as to what these scenes are. If you are interested, there are a lot of YouTubers that are giving spoilers out. Bottom line, I enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed the action. I enjoyed the comedy. It really felt good to watch a superhero movie that felt like a comic book. So I give this movie 4 out of 5 stars because the comedy hits in most spots. There are some spots, like I said, where I don't really feel the comedy hit quite right. So I can't really in good conscience say it's a 5-star movie because honestly, there are some things that sort of lag in the movie a bit. It's kind of hard not to get caught up in this movie, and that's the magic. That's the magic of a movie that's kind of a little silly, that can take itself a little serious at times, but doesn't always have to be realistic. This movie is a perfect example of that, and you can't help but to actually feel for this family at the same time as you're kind of relating to this family and feeling for this family. You're still going to get this element of this enjoyment, this whole silly vibe that you're watching a comic book movie. It's fun and not much else. The movie doesn't slow down, and that's what works to its advantage. That's why it gets the 4 stars, because even when it does something that doesn't quite work, it moves on from it, and it jumps into the next thing. And I highly recommend you watch this movie. I don't think that if you're a comic book fan, you're going to walk out of this movie feeling like you've completely wasted your time, but all film is subjective. So I could be wrong. So what did you think? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to share this video with all of your friends so they can be a part of the conversation as well. Make sure you're hitting that like button. It's free. It helps the channel. We appreciate it. Miko says we need more subscribers, and you don't want to disappoint Miko, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single video we do. And then friends, at the end of the day, I know it, you know it, and Miko knows it. Fandom is family.